we don't have peace on earth, not on our part anyway.
So today, Christians around the world are celebrating Christmas. But the Palestinians say that they feel no joy this festive season as Israel has continued with its campaign of bombing the Gaza Strip, even on the occasion of Christmas. Now, what has happened in the last 24 hours is being described as one of the deadliest nights of this war. Now, the Israeli air bombings began just hours before midnight and they've persisted through Monday. And according to reports that have come in, at least about 78 people were killed in the center of the besieged Gaza Strip at the Al-Maghzi refugee camp in just one airstrike by the Israelis. The World Health Organization has expressed grave concerns over the destruction of the healthcare system in the war-torn Gaza Strip. The WHO has warned that if the health system in Gaza collapses, it would result in a tragedy. The organization has also called for an immediate ceasefire from all parties involved in the conflict. And according to the latest data that's been released by the United Nations last week, only 9 out of the 36 hospitals in the region are said to be partially operational and are struggling to cope with the overwhelming demands. And despite the surge in healthcare needs, only about 38% of the hospital beds in Gaza Strip are currently available for the people who need it. And only about 30% of the healthcare workers at this moment continue to work in the occupied Palestinian territory of Gaza. Now, despite the very dire humanitarian crisis in Gaza, the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu has continued to remain pretty adamant. Now, he says that Israeli forces are going deeper into the Gaza Strip and will continue to fight on until what he describes as total victory over Hamas.
Citizens of Israel, we are deepening the war in the Gaza Strip. We will continue to fight until the total victory over Hamas. This is the only way to return our hostages, eliminate Hamas and ensure that Gaza will no longer be a threat to Israel.
Due to the mounting soldier casualties, Israel's economy minister Nir Barkat has criticized the Israeli Prime Minister, complaining that not enough is being done to protect the soldiers' lives. The Barkat's accusations, made in public comments and subsequently the weekly cabinet meeting, drew fire from other ministers as well, including the war cabinet member Benny Gantz, who has called on the ministers to not make baseless declarations. Now, according to reports by the Israeli media outlets, Netanyahu has responded to the accusations and has argued that Barkat's claims were simply not true and were rather operational considerations. Now, with Israel and Hamas having reached no consensus on any ceasefire, Egypt has now put forth another plan for Gaza. Cairo has outlined a 3-stage deal for a truce and the release of all hostages held in the Gaza Strip. Most importantly, this proposal can bring Israel back to the negotiating table. The first stage of Egypt's plan would be a 2-week halt in the fighting, which can be extended further if needed. During this period, Israeli tanks will withdraw completely from Gaza and will allow for humanitarian aid to enter into the Gaza Strip unimpeded. Hamas will alongside release 40 hostages, especially women, if there are any minors and elderly men. In return, Israel would release 120 Palestinian prisoners. In the second phase, Egypt will mediate talks between the Palestinian factions, mainly the Palestinian Authority and Hamas, and Cairo would help in forming a technocratic government in Gaza that would pave the way for Palestinian parliamentary and presidential elections. And the third and the final stage would include a comprehensive ceasefire, the release of the remaining Israeli soldiers in return for a number of remaining Palestinian prisoners. In the final phase, Israel would have to withdraw its forces completely from the cities in the Gaza Strip and must allow the displaced Palestinians in Gaza from the north to return back to their homes. Egyptian sources say, however, that Hamas and the allied Islamic Jihad have rejected these proposals. Further, in a related development, Israel is reportedly weighing an option of not killing of the Hamas leaders in Gaza if and when the opportunity arises, and handing them immunity of sorts and deporting them to Qatar or another country. The move is reportedly part of a solution that would secure the release of all hostages held in Gaza and end the war against Hamas. Now, the Khan public broadcaster, citing several unnamed Israeli sources, has reported that the security and political leadership in Israel has been discussing such an option, though there is no concrete proposal on the table at this moment. All right, now to give us more insights in terms of what is happening at this moment in the Gaza Strip, we're being joined by Mr. Omar Barghouti, who is a Palestinian human rights activist and also co-founder of the BDS movement, and is joining us live on this broadcast. Now, Mr. Barghouti, this is a pretty pivotal moment in this war that has now dragged on for well over 2.5 months. Last night was described as possibly one of the deadliest nights in the Gaza Strip. Now, there are talks of negotiations, there are talks of, Egypt has put forth this 3-part peace plan that it says can be worked out, although there are reports that has now been rejected. How do you see this war going forward? When can we expect to see some peace in the Gaza Strip?
Thank you for this. It's not a war, it's a genocide, as hundreds of international law scholars, including genocide scholars, have called it. In the last couple of days, actually, Israel has murdered over 400 Palestinians this weekend alone, just before Christmas. And days before that, an Israeli sniper in Gaza killed a woman, a Palestinian Christian woman, and her daughter in the compound of a Catholic church, leading the Pope to call this a terrorist act. On Christmas Day, today, the Israeli forces across the occupied West Bank are attacking Palestinian communities, including Bethlehem, the birthplace of Jesus. So the genocide is continuing extremely violently, and the world is not yet able to end Israel's impunity, defended by the US and Western powers so far. Israel is defying a UN Security Council resolution by not allowing enough humanitarian aid in to Gaza. And in fact, as Oxfam and several human rights organizations have said, Israel is using starvation as a weapon of war. Hundreds of thousands of Palestinians are facing real starvation. If they don't die from the bombs, they'll die of diseases and starvation. So to achieve peace, we need justice. And to achieve justice, we have to end the oppressive system that has existed for 75 years.
Right now,
so the Israeli-U.S. proposals that you've named as Egyptian proposals for a 3-phase ceasefire, they're really dictated by the U.S. and Israel. I mean, Egypt wouldn't present anything of its own. This shows that things are not going as well as the U.S.-Israeli genocidal pact wishes for, not on the ground and not globally. The U.S. is becoming much more isolated, and therefore it's not going anywhere. Without a permanent ceasefire and lifting the siege, we cannot stop this genocide.
Now, who do you think in this war can actually play the role of a mediator? Because we've seen some efforts that have been done by Qatar. This Egyptian plan, on the face of it, has been put forth. The United States has been, of course, urging the Israelis to exercise restraint. Who do you think can be a mediator to bring about lasting peace in this conflict?
It's not a matter of who the mediator can be. I mean, the United Nations would be. But who can end Israel's impunity? So long as the United States, the European Union, the UK, Canada, Australia are defending Israel, arming it, funding it, and preventing international law from applying to Israel to stop its genocide, there is no way to hold it accountable and to end it. Right. So to achieve peace, we need to end the impunity. And this takes the form of sanctions. Military embargoes. Malaysia, for example, has decided to ban all ships headed to Israel or Israeli ships from using its ports. So we're calling on more states to use this. The Israeli reports are saying China is preventing some sensitive computer parts from reaching Israeli companies out of bureaucratic reasons, but they know it's related to Israel's war
Mr.
on
Barghouti,
Palestinians.
we're short of time, so let me actually ask you this question. Do you think these kind of embargoes and sanctions that are being imposed by countries like Malaysia, are they having any kind of an impact on Israel because it is being backed by the United States?
Yes, it does have an impact, especially if it grows. So if South Africa and Chile and several other countries start dealing with Israeli shipping the same, and we saw trade unions in Belgium, Turkey, Greece, Italy, Barcelona, even in the United States and in Oakland, California, blocking shipments of arms to Israel. If this grows, indeed, it can have an effect.
Right.
It is showing, as the UN General Assembly last time has shown, the Israel-US genocidal axis is more isolated than ever. This increases the pressure, and that can help end the genocide.
All right. Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Barghouti. We are completely short of time. Thank you very much indeed for joining us with our perspective.
Thank you.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.